So for today's hand history segment, we are all doing Ryan the Rock hands. So
Woo!
that's exciting. For
All
next
right.
week, I would love to do actual viewer hands.
Yes.
So make sure to
Whoa.
submit to either Bad Beat Bryce, the All In Podcast account, All In Poker Podcast account, or Ryan the Rock, and we'll be sure to review and pick the best ones out of there. But I was a little lazy, didn't post about it, so we're doing Ryan hands. Ryan, do you have the hands pulled up? Yep.
Boom.
Oh, this is fancy. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a whole crazy setup here.
When we first started Fausto, we started our first 3 episodes on Instagram Live, and our graphics were literally like a pen and paper, and it was the most like ratchet, like horrible setup you can imagine. So we have come a long way since then.
Also, I would write
Good
down
for
the
you.
hand history on a piece of paper so that it would bleed through, so I could write it backwards on the other side, so I could hold it up in the camera and have it face the correct direction for the audience.
Wow. Okay.
There's your reference for how
Low
far
budget.
it's come.
That's so ghetto that like I almost want to see it.
You
Like,
don't though.
It's like I don't and I do. It's like a
Yeah.
weird uniqueness. Like, yo, look at these fucking guys, but it's great. Like,
What are they doing? Yeah.
You
Let's
gotta,
go,
you gotta
guys.
respect the hustle. All right,
Yeah,
Ryan.
man.
What do we
I
got
love it.
here?
Yeah, so we're playing live 1-2. This hand was played probably a couple weeks ago, beginning of this month. The main villain in this hand is the cutoff. He is a loose, aggressive, middle-aged, younger Asian male. Really nice guy. Lots of action at the table. He was really driving. He and I were really driving a lot of the action at this particular table.
As soon as you said Asian, I got it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Seriously, I don't know if you go ahead.
So action starts. I believe it folds all the way to the cutoff. The cutoff opens to 11. This is pretty standard sizing for him. He would really open to 11, 12, 15.
Yeah.
He had, would standardly raise larger overlinkers and things of that nature. So good chunky raise size for a 1-2 game. Folds to me in the big blind, and we have our first decision point of the hand.
Sorry. Yeah.
I opt to go the aggressive route and 3-bet up to 35. I think really the majority of the reason why is that I want to have the betting lead against him post flop. I think correct me if I'm wrong here. It's better to 3-bet our offsuit combos of king queen from out of position and flat our suited combos, or is that incorrect?
It depends on stacked F and SPR. So the deeper the SPR, the more playability you want. The shallower you are, the more polarized and high card heavy you want to be. So in this case, you might want to go a tad bit bigger, like try to stick to 4x minimum.
I agree.
And you want polarizing hands, so this will fit into the description of blockers. Offsuit is going to lack playability, but it has great blocker removals. And if he happens to call, you're very high card, so you could just have backup equity just in case. So overall, this is fine so far.
Yeah, one thing about your game, Ryan, I think that could be tweaked a little bit is pre-flop your sizings. So I think like in position a lot, you just kind of gravitate towards like the 3x. Like, okay, we're on the button, we can go a little smaller 3x. I think you need to mix in more of those 3.5 to even 4. And obviously out of position, we want to go a little bit bigger. But I feel like we're not getting enough folds pre-flop. And especially because people are pretty inelastic live, we want to be taking it down, at some frequency, obviously, or people are just always going to be calling us and we're always going to be putting these spots out of position.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree with everything Fausto said, but yeah, just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think I wrote in my notes that I meant to raise to 40 and that I miscounted the chips or that they stuck together to some degrry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I did have the purpose of raising
Cool.
to 40. but ended
So
up-
you misclick live. Okay.
Yeah, misclick live, literally.
Okay, cool.
I do it.
You have to put in the call. And we head to a pretty good flop for King Queen.
Yep.
4 hearts, King of Spades, 9 of diamonds, a rainbow board for us. And I choose to c-bet for the sizing of 35. I don't particularly like this. I think it could be smaller. But
Yeah.
I'm open to thoughts because I think this is just a very, very dry board texture that's very range neutral, where both of us are going to contain or are going to have strong hands in our range. Or I think actually both of us can have king 9. I think maybe I only have pocket kings, but we both have 9s. we both can have a lot of gut shot combos with backdoors. So open to thoughts on this.
Yeah, I would say it's more advantage than neutral, but I see what you're saying. There is a lot of continues in the gut shot formation, especially since he should be calling Broadway a lot. So it could be borderline neutral. You obviously retain the stronger stuff, so you're gonna have a slight advantage. But I would say it's more neutral if it's like two tone, where it gives him more availability as opposed to just strictly gut shots. If it's just strictly gut shots, I think you're gonna have too much of an advantage here. That being said, I like to look at spots theoretically and then exploratively. Theoretically is too big. You want to go third pot, even quarter pot sometimes, and 3-bet pots. Exploratively against the pool, half pot is fine. Like it's just gonna work a lot. This player type, expect him to call a lot.
Right.
And I will even mix in a lot of, if he's like truly lag, I will mix in a lot of delay aggression, because he's gonna overdo it when you check and present a cap range, and as long as your range is protected, it's fine. And then you could really like fuck with them on turns and rivers with a lot of check raises and stuff like that, especially out of position. So I could set this up by either betting with intention of checking a lot of turns, or checking in the flop and then starting that process. So
that's really interesting. I like that.
So I gave you a lot of different things to think about there, but yeah.
No, I get that too, about if he truly is a lag opponent, that we need to have some check raises and some things that we can do. That's the thing. Like really, a lot of him being the lag in his image and how he played was that he was really just always c betting when check too.
Didn't matter so there you go.
The number of opponents.
Yeah,
so I think this is
then put in the check.
Yeah.
If he's truly doing it at nearly 100% frequency, absolutely put in the check.
Yeah. Like if you were to take a solver, it will always look at the most profitable route. So it's gonna come in the form of like, is he overly aggressive when you bet? Like, does he raise you a lot, or does he stab a lot when you check? Does he continue too much? And it's gonna mix like, okay, it's more profitable this way or this way. So in this case, let's just say hypothetically, he has 100% stab rate when you check. Fucking check everything.
Yeah.
Let him stab, and then you construct from there.
That's really
if he raises a lot, then put everything in the bet category and then split from there. So it's gonna depend on what kind of lag he is. My experience, most lags do raise more than other people, which is why we don't want to have a high betting frequency, because he will deny us equity when we don't have anything. But this also could be the lag where like his stabbing frequency is higher than or more predictable than like his raising frequency. That's my experience with lags. So when that's the case, it's like, all right, I'm borderline gonna check everything and then just fuck with them. So yeah,
it's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, yeah. So
Blueprint
a lot goes into this $35 bet, which we do. Theoretically, it could be smaller, but as you said, exploratively, correct? It could be larger. So he does end up putting in the call. We go to a turn. I mean, it brings in backdoor spades, but I guess a relative brick in the deuce of spades. And we opt to bet a second time here, which I think now brings in the interesting point of, if he is a lag opponent, can we check this turn card to him and expect him to stab at a reasonable frequency?
Absolutely.
And I think in game, I really thought that this deuce of spades was a real brick card, and that if I checked, I was just going to give him the opportunity to check back with worse hands that I could get value from. And I think that was really the chief part of my thought process that led me to bet again. To go 185 into 141.
You mean 85 into 141?
So yeah, 85 into 141. Sorry, not 185.
Yeah, like you're starting to push leverage here, and like this is crossing leverage. You're kind of forcing him, like you're playing for stacks or not, basically. And you don't. If you're gonna do that, like you have to do it with good and bad hands, right? But exploratively, like this guy is, I'm pretty sure, so on the other spectrum that he will go crazy if you just check. You will earn more money that way, because right now what's happening in your mind is that you're too afraid of like letting go of that value and like thinking who check back. Like you gotta really trust your assessment. Like this guy's aggressive and he stabs a lot. Trust that, right? Feed into that. And once you understand that holistically, it's like, all right, how do we construct around that? Well, if he's gonna stab a lot, just check, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if he does check back, you don't necessarily like lose value, because I know you're trying to go for 3 streets, but there's still a ton of value where you could bet, check, he checks back, you bomb the river.
Yeah.
You do that too.
I like that. I prefer that to betting this turn.
Yeah, because you're trying to like put in as much money as possible, because like you perceive him as crazy, so you think that equates to him calling a lot. Lags don't really want to call. They want to drive the action.
Right.
Like I'm a lag, so I know. Like it's annoying when people like don't fold or like they fight back, right? So when they do too much of that, like it forces me to go a different way, right? So feed into that. Like, yes, he's crazy, but it doesn't equate calling a lot, right? He wants to be aggressive. So it's just a matter of like how, right? Does he raise a lot or does he stab a lot? Feed into that.
I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, people like
really interesting because
people think maniac and like.
Go ahead.
Now I'm just gonna repeat myself. Like people think maniac and it's like, oh, this guy's gonna call a like no, that's not the case.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that checking also does is that it gives him really the ability to overvalue a worse hand. That if we think he's stab heavy, why do I think he's going to check back a king jack, a king 10 on a board like this when I bet flop and then check on a really bricky turn? That would really give him the opportunity to then bet with a worse king, thinking that he's doing it for value against worse. And I've done that before, but not thinking that way about it, where I've checked a flop with an ace out of position on a dry board, and then I end up getting 2 streets because they, turn a worse pair, and then they end up going bet.
Right. And I also want to clarify, like, when I'm saying check and let him go crazy, like, I'm not coming from a perspective like trying to be tricky. That's not the case. Like, just strategically, this is just simply better because it protects your range. There's going to be hands in your range that naturally wants to check, and he's going to stab a lot. And that middle vulnerable range doesn't want to face a lot of aggression. The only way it can actually truly show down is if you protect it with hands that could check raise, like king queen, ace king, aces, sets, and then some draws. In this case, king 9-4 is going to be some gut shots and some backdoors. You protect the middle of your range with these polarizing hands, and those hands check raise at some point, either flop or turn.
Good. I really like that. That is very helpful. This is why I wanted to bring this hand out, because I was like, I think there are just these little things in it that I'm missing, and that's really a good point. Right. So river rolls off a 6, and we make, in my opinion, the worst decision of.
You just stick it in.
No, we end up betting 110.
Oh, why?
Just jam.
Yeah. I was trying to think back into what my thought process was at this point, and I think, again, flawed logic here, that his 1 pair king holding wouldn't be able to hold to 3 streets of total aggression. That if I rip this river, that he would be folding out hands that I'm beating, which is basically king jack and king 10 that I would be targeting.
His nines are way likely more to call you if you jam than if you bet this size, and he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? This is such value.
And that's where I think polarizing here makes some sense, because there is a missed flush draw on the board. There are a bunch of missed gut shots that exist here. There are plenty of hands that I can be turning into a bluff, that I think when we show up here with a hand as strong as king queen, we just have to go for all of it, because that protects the other hands that we're going to be jamming as a bluff. Is that insane, Fausto? You like that? You don't?
No, that's fair. Like, basically, theoretically, you reach a polarizing part of the game tree where, like, you're basically saying all or nothing, so you're polarizing. This is going to be in the top of your range, so, like, you need a jam as well as some miss hands. And you're way past leverage. There's 311 in the middle. You have 178 total. It's basically almost half pot, like a little bit more. Like, this is you trying to like make sure you get paid, basically.
Exactly.
And that comes inherently from your tight nature from before, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Um,
It does.
and that's just not how the game works, you know. So when you reach this point, when you're past leverage, it's basically only half pot. Regardless if this was overbet or not, the action itself has to be polarized. Given the action, you went bet, bet, bet. There's not that much of a difference between half pot and like, what is this?
A third, I think.
Okay,
It's
there is a
110,
difference
11.
there. Yeah, so there's a slight difference there, but yeah, like, just jam, man.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, he ends up tanking for quite some time. I mean, I think it's like his longest tank of the session for sure. And he
Probably because you took a wonky ass river line.
Yeah.
What does he
yeah.
call you with? Did we ever find out? I'm assuming
No,
not.
he never showed down, but I mean, I did beat whatever he had.
To be fair, when you reach the river, you actually have two options in terms of polarization. And polarization, in a technical sense, it means like extreme, right? Like all or nothing. So your extreme options on the river is a block bet or all in. So you went the block bet route. All in represents half pot here, so it's not that impactful, at least monetarily or relative to the pot. But those are your extremes. So let's pretend you have an all-in pot and a block bet. So it just becomes a matter of like which one is more appropriate, right? The way I like to think about it, this is probably giving too much info, but I kind of decide if the river makes it harder for him to call or not. So if it's really hard for him to call, I will go the block bet route. If it's really easy for him to call, I will go the extreme route. So in this case, when the 6 rolls off, doesn't really hurt him. It makes his previous bluff catchers almost inelastic.
Right.
So if that's the case, then it's easier for him to call. So go the other way, basically, like just go extreme, just shove.
There we go. Yeah,
if it's harder for him to call, block bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I very confusing. 110 was not it, Chief. That's suffice to say. But we do get called.
At least you bet.
This actually turned out to be my biggest winning session ever. But again, there were like 1 or 2 spots during the session where I was like, man, I really could have squeezed a little bit more out of this. And this was one of those 2 spots.
Well, at least you bet, man. I've seen tighter players not even like bet, so
yeah.
Or they get 2Q and bet $50. So
yikes. All right.
Nice hand, sir. At least we got some value. I mean, maybe could have gotten it all potentially if we slowed down and checked flop return, but we got some money.
What did he end up having?
We don't know.
He never showed. He mucked after I rolled over King Queen. So I mean, I presume it's King Jack King 10 after a tank like that, but you never know. Could have looked me up with a 9. It wouldn't be insane.
Yeah, very, very possible. But we very much appreciated having you on, Fausto. Hearing your thoughts and experiences, we definitely loved, and I'm sure our followers will enjoy as well. I'm excited to see you out in Vegas. I'm sure you're probably going. I'll definitely buy you a drink. But yeah, thanks again for your time, man. Any closing thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, you should absolutely check out blueprintpokercoaching.com. We will link it in the description, like I said. Be sure to click on it. Fausto is worth every penny. And we've heard it from not just, we've heard it from friends and people that we trust that you're a fabulous coach and that you're worth every penny. And
that's right, man.
You've said it yourself. It's worth it to invest in yourself because you're showing up to these games anyway. You're going to play anyway. Why not be decent at it?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
The basic thing, right? Why not be decent at it? It makes some logical sense. So,
especially if you care at some degree, like invest in yourself, get better, and get paid, man. Once in a while, man. Like, fuck. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to get better, like, we'll just collect more money, guys. Like, it's cool, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can come to the party Cali home games if you just want to have fun. That's fine.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, thank you again, Fausto, and hope to see you shortly.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Have a good one, man. We have 2 more hands for you guys. Unlucky for you, we won't have Fausto's knowledge on these, but I'll try to help you out a little here, Ryan, and we'll go from there.
Yourself, you can help us here. Man, I'm trying to think. this specific spot. I guess I'll figure this one out as we go. But this is 1-2. This is a different session for sure. We are 300 effective under the gun 1, ace, queen of diamonds. There's a limp under the gun.
Go to 12 or 15. Oh,
We
too
should
small,
go to
buddy.
12. This was okay. So this is older because when I came back for like my first couple of sessions at 1-2, I was opening to 8, and I just quickly realized that was just
10,
stupid.
at least.
And that open to 10 at your base level, and then everything else goes bigger because they just play so much worse when there's more money in the pot post flop.
Yeah.
That was my observation. So this should be 12 to 15, 100%.
I mean, yeah, I think even in games where the max buy-in is like 200, I honestly don't know because I refuse to play anything smaller than 1-3 because it literally just I can't do it. But like, I understand going to 8 when people are only 200, I guess, but still, they're gonna call you even if they have $200 in front of them. They'll put 5% of their stack in with 9-3 suited. Like they'll do it.
Oh my God!
So, like,
these people who buy in for $60 will call your $12 raise preflop with the same range as the guy who's 300 effective. I mean, it's really incredible. They are very inelastic.
All right, so we're definitely going to be like 4-way this hand. So this will be some fun maneuverability. what happens?
Folds around,
Wow.
and the big
2
blind calls, and the limper folds. So we're actually at.
Did we just limp fold to a raise and a okay? Well played, sir.
I have no
well
idea. None. No
okay.
idea. Blows my mind.
All right, so
this
we're heads
happens
up.
a lot too, and it just what? But okay, do you, man? Flop comes ace, king, 8, rainbow. Obviously a much better flop for us than it is for our opponent in the big blind. We contain
bet
all
like
the
$7-8. Check
kings.
to us.
Yeah, he's 100% should check and flow, and he does. So now
I just go like third.
You would go third.
Yeah.
Especially
live. Yeah,
the same amount, which I think is fine. It's a little bit under half pot. I thought it was reasonable, especially given the board texture. I think if it were a 2-tone board instead of rainbow, an over half pot size bet would be appropriate.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah,
but given the rainbow texture, I think
it's a very good board for us. Yep. All right, so villain just calls.
Yep.
It's gonna be
off
like
the turn, rolls off the 6 of hearts. Fine turn for me. Nothing really drastically improves. That was calling our flop bet. And the villain chooses to donk out for 35. Just lead for 3/4 pot. And that was the last thing that I was expecting to happen. I did not see this coming. What's up, Dan? Nice to see you, man. Yeah.
We just call, obviously. So yeah, there's absolutely no purpose in raising. What do you think he's repping here?
That's what I was really trying to figure out, and that's what I've really been struggling with after this. Of like, man, what calls flop and then donks the 6 of hearts on the turn?
I think 6-8 and pocket 8s make the most sense. Or a hand like Queen Jack, 10 Jack of hearts. That picked up the flush draw in addition to the straight equity, again, it's really interesting because obviously we have all the better 2 pairs. We got all the better sets. This is a very interesting lead. I think there's just nothing to do but call here and reevaluate on the river. But I expect him to be barreling this river at a 90+% frequency. Honestly,
the villain's also now that I'm remembering this hand in the details, the villain is a middle-aged Indian man who's been.
Has he been gambling?
Not super gambly. No, he's been on the tighter side, and this was not the first time that I'd seen him bet from out of position. When he was not pre-flop aggressive.
Do you think he's bad enough to be doing this with like ace 10, ace jack, and just like not knowing logic and being like, okay, I have top pair now. If he was bluffing, maybe he'll call me with a king or his flush draw, like something of that nature. Okay,
I think
interesting.
So
we're definitely just calling.
Right, exactly. I never raise was never an option to me at this point.
No, it's not. We're never raising this. So we just
put in the call, and before the river card hits the deck,
he bets. I know this hand. He has a flush, and we just call. You showed me this hand, and I forgot. But this is just like so unorthodox. I have no. Yeah.
So
this is a horrible card.
Yeah, the 9 of hearts is an atrocious.
This
card.
is a horrible bet by him, especially with. I mean, yeah, it might make it look like you have less of a flush draw, but like, why would you ever lead in the dark? And if you're gonna lead in the dark, honestly, like jam, bet massive. I would agree. I would. I don't like doing it like at all. Like given this
I don't
texture
like
in the
dark
situation,
action in
but betting small dark, bro. Like, what does this accomplish? If he bricked, which he's going to be bricking the majority of the time, he gets there, what, 20% of the time? Okay.
Literally,
if it's a horrible bet, he's literally handing you his money. So
Yes.
we just call and we're wrong. I actually think that I think if he didn't donk lead, I think even with this sizing, you might have folded. This is a bad card. This is a really bad card.
If the river card came out and he took any amount of time to think before placing the $65 bet, I was just going to throw away ace queen. It was going to be
which I think you should.
Yeah. But then when he made this bet, that was the problem, was that I think if we go back to the turn action, I called this river bet because I ranged him to have weaker ace X. But that weaker ace X doesn't
make sense. The only hand that we beat is like a queen jack without hearts. We basically lose to like all of his turn bluffs. And unless he's turning an ace, and I don't think he does this with an ace, not knowing if the flush rolls out, not knowing if the straight gets there. So I really think this is just very flush draw heavy, and he's giving us a very, very, very good price, which just makes it annoying. But
you've also got to look at the suit distributions. The ace of hearts is accounted for, and the ace of diamonds is accounted for. I have that in my hand. So, I mean, his king X of heart combos make a lot of sense in this spot, flatting from the big blind. He, in theory, should have a lot of king X that flats from the big blind. So I think that logic was somewhat flawed. And really that dark action was really what threw me off the most. And I really called because I was just like, what the hell?
So we call incorrectly. What hearts does he have?
He turns over the 10-8 of hearts.
Okay, so we interesting.
Right, so the turn, flops a pair, turns himself as flush draw, opts to donk out with that.
I much prefer a check jam by his turn line. I don't like a lead. I don't like it. I don't like his line. I think we could maybe find a fold here on the river, but I don't hate it, especially given little information on the villain and considering the confusion on betting in the dark. I understand the call. I think we should be folding here, but I totally understand the call. I mean, we have top pair with but what are we beating? And I guess your answer is ace 10, ace jack, but literally that's it. That's
it. We could rule out those hands to a pretty uncertain degree, given the turn action, given that the ace of hearts is accounted for.
I 100% agree with that analysis.
Like ace jack.
And when you can't name a hand or combos that you can beat, you should be folding. That is a very good piece of advice. Do not put in the curiosity call. I have lit thousands of dollars to the curiosity call.
I've lit hundreds of dollars on fire.
Yeah, probably not the most profitable thing there. But we've got one more hand for you guys. We have
this
King
one's
Jack.
really bad.
Okay.
Oh,
why are we in this hand? We'll see what happens.
This is this was the worst hand I've played at Live 1-2.
I also know you enough to know that you're not going to 3-bet the King Jack off out of position. So I know we're going to be flatting and playing out of position with King Jack. So I'm just going to hate whatever's about to happen.
Yeah, you're going to hate
without the betting lead. King Jack off. All right, let's get it.
Yes. So there's a limp in early position, and the hijack opens to 14. I put beginner here because it's pretty clear he's a beginner. He came here with his wife, who's also a newer player. They're stacking their chips and tens. Pretty dead giveaway that they're home game people when they start stacking their chips in 10s while everyone else has them in 20s. Then they ask you, why do you have it stacked in 20s? And you're like, all right, now I know. But he opens to 14. He owned the crap out of me earlier in the session, and we'll go over that because that has a factor in my thought process.
So we call thinking we have a post-flop edge. Oh, no. With a flat in between, bro.
Oh, it's atrocious.
Bump it up
or get out of the way.
Not flat.
I play a raise all or fold strategy.
Make it like 70 or fold here.
That's it.
We're only off 365. Yeah.
Yeah, make it
65,
60 or 65.
At least 65.
At least that.
Yeah. Okay. So we call because
Which is awful.
We
Shit
enjoy
doesn't
lighting
fly.
money on fire.
Yep, literally.
And we're probably bringing in them.
We
Yeah.
bring the whole crowd.
5-way with King Jack off.
This is as bad as it gets with King Jack offsuit. You do not want to be going 5 ways with King Jack offsuit. I'm going to tattoo that on my forehead. Okay, that's where we're at. And we flop 2 pair. This is a problem that friggin' sucks when you flatten small blind with King Jack and you flop 2 pair on a straighty board. Now I really just don't know what the hell to do. Like, is this a board where we should lead into 5 opponents? Is this a board where we should check? And now I'm just lost. So I go with the check. And the flop.
Bro. We are always checking this flop. 5-way. Yeah, there's so much atrocious things that could happen, but this is not our board.
Right.
Not our board. You can put in a check raise all you want. Like, sure, yeah, whatever. I still might even lean towards calling because there's just, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we check. We're not leading this. Checks around. Okay, so if it's a blank turn, we can comfortably lead. Okay, so now we're gonna lead for like 50.
No, we go with the check again.
I don't.
Terrible.
We can just easily like any ace, any 10, any 9. Like there's so many bad cards. 5-way. There's literally like a third of the deck at least where we're like we do not have the best hand comfortably. We probably have the best hand right now. We should be betting because even like 10 Jack, Queen 10, King 10. These hands are going to be calling you, and you're losing a lot of value. And if the river blanks out, you're probably not getting calls. There's a lot of hands that can call you here. While it's a rainbow board, there's so many hands, pair plus straight draw, that can continue. And
That's
just
the
lost
thing that I
value.
That was the thing I was thinking about, was like, there is just so much Queen 10, Jack 10, King 10, Ace
Jack, Ace Queen, Ace King, like even
pair plus
they're not folding.
Open ender or a gut shot that at
Pocket
this level
10s.
they are not going to fold.
Yeah.
And for any really, I mean, I could go pot and they're pretty much going to call, especially considering
maybe not. Yeah, I like 55 here.
Right. So I do agree. I think if
I hate a check.
You should
flop check completely standard. Turn you need to be betting when it checks around.
Because you have to thin the field. If it checks through again, you're absolutely right. Like you're asking for a pocket 6s to drill a set on the river, and then So we go with the check, which is not good. It checks to beginner villain. That's 30.
You better raise.
And we put
if he has king queen, if he has kings, if he has queens, nice fucking hand. I think he could be doing this. No, he shouldn't be doing this. But a beginner could be doing this with aces if they're really bad.
Oh yeah, no, and that was the thing.
Like for value, obviously. Like not like, oh, we're blocking the ace 10. We have aces. We have an overpair to king queen jack deuce 5-way. We're gonna bet it. So we just call. I don't love it. It's gonna be an ace 10 or 9 on the river, and we're gonna call and just lose.
So 4.
Okay. So now we definitely check, yeah?
Yeah, we absolutely
check.
So we finally do something right.
Now I like the check.
And the villain bets 175
into 130?
30. Yep.
I'm calling. GG. Nice hand. You got kings. I don't care.
Yeah, and
queens. I mean, obviously, I'd guess queens most. But I don't care. Nice hand.
Here is what happened. Previously in this session, the only other hand that I had against this villain, I had flopped 2 pair with ace-7 in a single raise pot, and it was like ace-7-8 rainbow. I bet he called. The turn came, I think, like a 6 or I don't remember exactly what it came, but he donk jammed all in for like a little bit close to almost 2x pot.
Okay.
I called him with 2 pair, and I was just dead to a straight. He had 10-8, which made the straight on the turn.
I don't care. Like what hands does he play this way that aren't ace 10? Because a lot of the other opponents don't possess king queen jack. I guess 9-10 could play this as well, but considering he's a rec player, I actually don't really expect him to even be opening that hand necessarily. I mean, depends how beginner he is, but most beginners I know aren't even opening like 9-10 of diamonds, like literally that bad.
Yeah, that's not unfair.
So I think he's just pulled. I mean, yeah, if you've got pocket queens, GG. He shouldn't be doing. I'm just calling. We're too top of range. We're so under rep. We check flop. We check turn. If you have a set, you have a straight. I don't care. I'm calling.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do?
I ended up putting in the fold, which was
and
wrong.
He shows eights. You fucking donkey, bro. How do you not call him? You're such scared money, boy. I said snap. I didn't just say call. I said snap his ass. Boy, you checked flop and you checked turn with 2 pair. It checked around on the flop. He bet 30. He didn't even go big. Oh no. Get me out of here.
Wow. I told you this was the worst hand that I played at Live 1-2. This one was a dumpster fire from beginning to end. I have no defense for any of my actions.
What are we calling with? Are we calling king
That's
queen?
exactly what I started to think about after this hand.
If we're not calling king jack this under repped, what are we calling with? We don't really have sets. We don't have sets here ever. And if he thinks, does he think we're really gonna check 9-10 or ace-10 twice? Probably not. His bet is actually probably pretty good. Like, it doesn't make sense necessarily why he would check this flop when it pulls him, but like, he knows you probably don't have shit. He would be shocked if he knew you folded king jack, because he's probably putting you on like a 1-pair holding. He's probably putting you on the king 10, queen 10, jack 10, which he thinks he can blow you off of. But like, when you show up with king jack and you fold it, like, we are so under rep. It would be one thing if we bet other streets and then he did this to us and we showed aggression, but we have shown zero aggression this entire hand. We flatted pre-flop, we checked flop, we check call turn, and then we check on the river. That is just the least aggression you can show in this hand. And when we have 2 pair on a king, queen, jack, deuce 4 board, we have to call.
Yep. No, I think that's a totally fair assessment. I think I just overweighted the fact that he was beginner and that I thought he was capable of checking the flop with ace-10, and that I thought that those were the only hands that he would take this line with, that he didn't really have that many bluffs. But I mean, in hindsight, like, of course he has bluffs, because exactly what you said, I'm so under-repped that he has no choice but to put me on a hand like king 10, queen 10, jack 10, that when a river hits like this, it's a brick. He totally should. I mean, like, from a beginner, this is impressive to turn.
And over betting is not something that beginners do. To his credit and to your it doesn't happen often. I agree. The only reason why I'm being so harsh on you is how fucking under repped we are in this hand.
Right. No, that's totally fair. And that's the thing is, like, I think one of the things that was ringing around in my head was the concept of, like, one of the Live 1-2 exploits being folding to late street aggression. But a huge caveat to that is we can't be folding to late street aggression if we've shown no aggression in the hand. We've done nothing to make the villain think that we also contain a strong hand that they can get value from. So when they go for a large polarizing sizing like this, we just have to be defending with 2 pair. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, king jack is such a strong hand. So yeah, no, I got no qualms in saying that this is terrible. And that if you gave me those cards back and gave me the situation back, I think I'd play it 100% differently.
I'm glad. How long ago was this hand, if you don't mind me asking?
Man, it was probably my second session of September, so it was pretty recent.
Okay, well, that makes me sad, but lesson learned.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we know what we should be doing, and I think that we really have to just think, like, in the opponent's shoe, what strength, like, they think we have and why they're doing the actions that they're doing.
Right. That's what I didn't do.
Yeah. I think that's
so
just what it boils
stuck
down to.
In the where my hand was in my value range and not what the hell do you have? And that's like the most important question in poker is what the hell does your opponent have?
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't particularly matter what you have. You can represent a lot of things.
Yeah. That is it for this session. Hopefully you guys found some value from this and enjoyed our interview with Fausto. If you would like to submit one of your hands, please do to either me, the All In Poker Podcast account, or Ryan the Rock. If you have any ideas for guests on the podcast, please also shoot us a message. Or if you have questions that you would like us to ask people once you see us post an ad for, like on that Monday or whatever, saying we're going to interview someone on Wednesday. If you have a question, feel free and just shoot it our way. And if we like it, we'll be sure to ask it. But yeah, like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your grandma. Ryan, do you have any thing you want to close off with?
I now know that this is my mom's favorite poker podcast. So that's
I saw that. That's all you need. Shout out Ryan's mom. We appreciate you watching.
Love
and there we go. All right, you guys have a good night.
Cool.